You're listening to NTParanormal After Dark. Nothing normal about it.
Hey everybody, what's up? So we're back for episode 27. Today we're going to be talking about ESP, psychic phenomenon, pyrokinesis, witches, seeing into the future, clairvoyance, all that good stuff. And we pulled up some pretty good information on some pretty awesome, real history about ESP studies and things that have gone on that are kind of shady in our past. How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Good. Doing pretty good. Stuff.
Man, y'all are fucking animated.
I hate you.
So we got the whole group in the studio today. So Kristen and Allie are joining us for the discussion. So initially we were going to talk about the Sir No Face this episode, but Allie and Kristen haven't seen it yet. So we decided to go with ESP for today.
And it was total crap anyway.
Hey, don't spoil the show before the show happens. It wasn't total crap.
Okay.
I mean, it was total crap, but it was an okay documentary.
We'll talk about it.
Sort of thing. Okay. Yeah, we should save it for that. So, Terrence says, "Hey guys, I'm designing, so I'm turning in." Oh, okay. I see we're not good enough for you to actually watch our whole show. So that's how that is. Well, okay, we're just going to turn it off now since
We're background
Terrence
noise.
going away. So what is ESP is like the big question.
Well, it's an overarching term, isn't it, for a bunch of groups of things? Telekinesis.
Right. I guess it encompasses much stuff, but mostly it's brain powers.
Extrasensory
Things
perception.
you do with your brain. Well, so I should start with the official definition of extrasensory perception. Then everybody can kind of. Oh, by the way, we have a poll. It's a new feature of the live streams. Is they let us do a poll, so you guys can vote on whether or not you think ESP is real or not.
Ooh.
Y'all can already guess what my vote is. But extrasensory perception, or ESP, is called the sixth sense or second sight. Includes claimed reception of information not gained through the recognized physical senses, but sensed with the mind. The term was adopted by Duke University psychologist J.B. Rhine to denote psychic abilities such as intuition, telepathy, psychometry, clairaudience, and clairvoyance, and the transtemporal operation as precognitive or retrocognition, too. So that'd be like seeing into the past. But wouldn't that just be memory?
Maybe it's someone else's past.
Or stuff you shouldn't be able to know.
Like the kids with the other life
Like
memories.
past life regression. Parapsychology is the study of paranormal psychic phenomenon, including ESP. Parapsychology has been criticized for continuing investigation despite being unable to provide convincing evidence for the existence of any psychic phenomenon after more than a century of research. The scientific community rejects ESP due to the absence of an evidence base, the lack of a theory which would explain ESP, and the lack of positive experimental results. It considers ESP to be pseudoscience. So that's right up our alley. Pseudoscience, things that are basically BS, but it gets sold to people anyway.
I have a teacher who would call it pseudo-science.
Pseudo.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a teacher who would pronounce the P.
I guess before we get started, do any of us have ESP? Are any of us claiming to have some kind of psychic ability or anything like that?
No.
Everybody said I was a really creepy kid that had stuff like that, but I don't remember, so I'm just going to say no.
I think ESP is like ghost hunting. We have evidence, but no proof. Well, according to the excerpt I just read, there's not even any evidence.
I think a lot of people have cases where they have a bad feeling and then a loved one dies. Or you think the phone's going to ring and then it rings. Or I had that bad dream the night before the Pulse shooting. I woke up in a panic.
So like premonitions or clairaudience.
That would be evidence, like a personal experience with a ghost. It's evidence for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but it can't be like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't be proved or
Well, yeah,
quantified.
because I had
It's not proof.
I had when I was like 12, I had a really bad dream about my birth father dying of a heart attack, and then like the next day my mom told me he had a heart attack and he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. He didn't die, but you know, it happened.
I think everybody's had one of those cases though where they've had a bad feeling and something has happened.
But
Yeah.
but at what point do people stop thinking that, you know, it's just a lucky guess or a coincidence, and they start thinking that they have the gift?
Maybe if it
I
happens,
mean,
more than-
because I'm a really good guesser. I mean, just using logic and things like that, you know, I can deduce cause and effect, but I don't necessarily think that means that I have ESP.
maybe if it happens like on a consistent basis, that would be good enough for someone, I'm sure. Like if it happens over and over and over again.
And a lot of people don't need a lot of proof.
Yeah, it's true.
Everyone wants to
yeah.
think they're special.
I mean, yeah.
So-
That's why Instagram and YouTube and everything like that are so popular.
I'm special. Love me.
So when I was looking up all the different things that you know, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, empaths, telepaths, psychics, mediums, clairvoyants, you know, there's 1,000 different names for them, and I was kind of curious like how the names came up, you know, other than in my big theory was it was just comic books. But it turns out somebody did like science stuff into it, right? So Duke University did the leading study in North Carolina. This J.B. Ryan and his wife was his assistant, and they're the ones that like invented the cards that you were talking about. That
The
show
Ghostbuster
up,
cards?
The Ghostbuster cards, which they're actually called Zener cards, right? And there's a very specific set and how you're supposed to use them. That's how they did the test. But that is the guy that came up with all the different terminology, and he pulled so kinesis. He pulled that, and the official definition of kinesis is that indirect movement of a cell, organism, or part as response to external stimuli, and so that's the subjunctive of the word, you know, telekinesis, pyrokinesis. So that would be moving things or influencing things with your mind. The other parts of it, like empath, telepath, psychic, he came up with all these, and it turns out there's different things that the different abilities can do. So I've noticed in the past when we're talking about a lot of the things that are going on, like with our research and stuff like that, we usually just kind of lump everything into psychics. Like I must have said that like 100 times at the table. I was like, we don't use psychics, we don't use mediums, but I was kind of lumping everything into psychics or a medium who channels through spirits.
What use would we have up for a pyrokinetic anyway? Set the ghost on fire with your mind.
I could find 1,000 uses for a pyrokinetic.
You need to scroll down because we have some
Besides
comments.
being awesome.
They start believing when cold readings work. Oh my God! When we were in, was it last year in Tyler?
No, it was the year
before
before
last.
It was the
Yeah.
year before last, and it was Buffy.
I don't know, but I
something.
wish we had that on video.
Yeah.
terrible.
Right,
It was
because
so
she was doing. I heard later that was, I think, her first.
Her first cold reading, yeah.
Yeah, her first like cold reading of a room or whatever, and she was just in. There were a couple of people that were just eating it up, and I was, you know, I just asked like a very simple question, you know, and I played along, like I tried to participate or whatever, but everything she said was just wrong. Like, and then we went out into the lobby and we talked to the guy there.
Thought he was psychic, but he was like, "This is all crap. This is."
He's like,
stupid."
yeah, they train you better to do that. And I was like, okay, do you want to try to do a reading with me? And he was like, okay, something. And I was like, nope. And he's like, well, nope. Screw it.
It's like, you know, I mean, that John Edwards guy, that's what she reminded me of.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? And that's the thing that bugged me about one of our last interview well, I really don't care if he watches, but the hypnotist guy, he's like, I got trained by the lady that trained John Edwards. And I'm like, John Edwards got defrauded like badly a few times. Like, that's why he doesn't have a show anymore.
Now, in defense of the lady that trained him, though, I heard a little more about her. She stays out of the I give more credence to people who don't like. Okay, so if you're psychic, you probably don't like it. it's probably not your favorite thing. You probably don't want a bunch of people coming to you, tell me what my dead grandpa says.
So that makes me wonder, what constitutes a true psychic? Someone with an innate ability or something that can be taught?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, if it's something your brain's doing.
Well, according to
It
that
can be
lady
taught.
at that same con,
The empathy thing.
everybody's psychic. So
Everybody's an empath, and every
Yeah.
time you enter a room, you're having a psychic moment. And
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you know when you have a weird feeling about something, that's a psychic event.
like, isn't that just
well,
feeling?
that's like feelings, but
I thought it was just McDonald's. That's
I do believe that more people are more empathetic than others. You know, I do believe that, like, you know, some people have more. I mean, that's just it's just who people
Empathy,
are. as a whole.
yeah,
Well, 'cause
empathetic.
sociopaths are a thing, and then there's
Yeah.
people that really feel others' emotions.
So
Yeah.
so as much as not into the psychic thing I set empaths apart from all that because I think empath is a thing. Maybe not like through some super magical means or whatever.
It's
but
reading the room.
Right. I think there's people that are naturally they have more intuition about how other people are feeling or what the situation is, even if they don't know they have that ability, and so it does seem even supernatural to them. And I noticed that a lot of like counselors and stuff like that tend to when we're talking to the people that think they're empaths and you ask them like what they do for a living, it turns out they're counselors. And I'm like, well, you know, that would actually be a good thing for an empath to do.
Well, I would yes and no, because like that's a lot of emotion to feel in one day. You know, I mean, think about how many patients a counselor sees on a normal basis. So I mean, they probably feel a lot in a day. Because I know, like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm an empath or anything like that, but I know I'm more empathetic than most people I know. And like, what
That's because
people
you
are-
hang out with a bunch of sociopaths.
I do
Yeah.
hang out with a bunch of sociopaths.
It's training for when you're around people with feelings.
But I mean, I whenever like someone around me is mad, like it puts me on edge because I don't know if like you know what's.
It's just because you think they're mad at you. That's because you're a victim of abuse, not because you're an empath. That has nothing to do with anything. Being an empath are just people that are really good at putting themselves in someone else's shoes, not really the feeling of their emotions.
Oh, I was gonna note on what your mom said too.
Okay. Can we not go through the show going your mom
Sorry,
said
what,
something?
What Julie said was, I think me and you had the same idea too on the group consciousness thing. Is if enough people know something, it seems to be shared almost genetically. It's like that thing where you grind up earthworms that know a maze, feed them to other earthworms. Those earthworms can run a maze.
Survival instinct.
Well, I think that's just inherent in our brains naturally, just that, survival instinct or knowing certain day, because you're just, so I don't, there's certain things that I definitely don't think are psychic or supernatural in any way, shape, or form. And notice most psychic events or supernatural, like, things like that, it always involves like a danger sort of sense or something like that. It's like, oh, I knew not to go that night and it turned out all my friends got shot, or I felt like the bridge was going to collapse like 10 minutes before the bridge it's always that. But I feel like there's all these subtle clues or whatever, and our brain's constantly looking for them because it's trying to keep us out of danger all the time. And that's just an evolutionary throwback to, like, the same reason our brains have pareidolia in the first place is, recognizing shapes when there's no shapes there. It makes us more alert to keep from animals eating us, things like that. It's not necessarily psychic. It's just some people are hyper sensitive to their surroundings.
So, quick question. How many people in this room, excluding Kristen, were supposed to be at Wedgwood Baptist the night of the shooting?
Oh, hey, yeah. There's like, I'm not the only person here raising
So,
my hand.
if y'all don't know, if y'all are from out of state, later the year of Columbine, there was a shooting in a Texas church where A lot of kids from my high school were there, probably some from your high school, his high school.
Yeah.
And my church was supposed to be there, but our van broke down. Why weren't you there?
They canceled it and they decided to do like a concert instead.
Brad, why weren't you there?
I'd rather not say.
Okay, so you didn't go for another reason. So all of us were supposed to be at this Wedgwood church where there was this massive shooting. It was a See You at the Pole rally, which is something we do in Texas. I don't know if that happens in other states. So it was a church event, and none of us ended up there. Now, how many of us think that was a god or psychic interlude that kept us
Divine
from
intervention
showing?
sort of thing?
Or some sort of...
No, I don't. I refuse to accept that fact that like God kept me from going to save me. Because what about the people that
That went and got
actually got
shot.
killed there? Like, why is my life more important than that's BS?
Well,
I hate that
mean-
mode of thinking.
Well, yeah, but I mean, anyone in that church would be like, well, it was just their time.
But I'm just
or-
throwing it out there that we, because all this event happened to all three of us, we could say that this was some sort of psychic activity or divine intervention. But I think we all chose to just think of it as a fluke. But how many people would go the other way? How many people would think the other way? How many people went home that night and were like, well, God kept me from being there, or I didn't go because I had a psychic vision?
At least 50% of the congregation that didn't get exploded by pipe bombs.
His pipe bomb didn't work. It was a
Yeah,
crappy
no,
pipe
it was
bomb.
all guns.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I know someone that was.
I say I know one of
and
my
think they're
friends.
listening.
One of my friends was there, but it just. I think a lot of people would look at that and they would see something we didn't.
Ashley's interested in the earthworms thing, the ground up earthworms. Explain that.
There's two different experiments they ran. There's one with mice and one with earthworms. And the one with earthworms, I'm not sure if it was earthworms or it's another type of worm.
It was earthworms.
Okay, and they taught them to run a maze. And
How do you? First off, how
How
do
do
you?
you teach an earthworm to run a maze? I
Yeah.
don't know. But they did this with mice too. So they had a group of mice and a group of earthworms run these mazes. And then with the earthworms, they ground them up and fed them to other earthworms. And the earthworms they'd fed them to got the maze right in like record time. The mice, what they did with them is they bred them. And their children ran the maze with minimal complications.
Right, they passed down the.
Yeah.
That was one of the tests for genetic memory, which is one of the things they think contributes to birds automatically knowing where to migrate, people automatically knowing certain things are dangerous or have like those past life regression memories. It's not really that you had a past life; it's that you're remembering
an ancestor.
right, something like that further down your line. Yeah, I always thought that was interesting. Taryn said, we recently made friends with a psychic. So far, she's been right. First time I met her, she said, I would be traveling with someone who is Irish with the first letter E, and the next day I was in the car with my friend Aaron going to an event. Well, I don't know. What's your take on that?
Has she ever been wrong?
And what's the percentage of wrong?
Yeah, what's the percentage? And what's guessing?
Also, traveling could be 1 mile down the road or 100. E, very common names start with E. Irish, most people here are Irish.
I
So-
tend to view it kind of like the Nostradamus quatrains. Like they're these generic, like little tidbits of something.
you-
And since it's been put out there and the prediction's been made,
You're looking for it.
You're looking for it, and you're trying to make it fit. It's the same thing Zach Baggins and Aaron do with the word. That's why I
The
hate
word bank.
the word banks. It spits out a random word.
Oh, they said a word that means nothing, but now it means something.
Right
to
now,
us.
it's like it said knife. I knocked off a knife off my table yesterday, and stuff.
Well, you remember after 9/11 how many like histories, mysteries and all that, like dramas predicted 9/11, and you're like, no, he said a lot of things, sure, but I mean, did he predict 9/11 specifically? No,
They're so ambiguous.
Yeah.
But Taryn, we're also not saying that these things aren't real.
Possible.
Yeah, I I don't have enough data to say whether I believe in this or not.
There's not enough personal proof for us to even lean that way, and then there's not enough scientific data available for us to follow it that way too, to say it's confirmed. But that brings up a good question. Like we're saying, what would make it possible, though? We're not saying it's impossible. And one of the things that shoots it down scientifically is nobody's offered the theory on how it's possible. So let's look at it let's try from that angle. So say you have the ability to, let's just take one power out of all of them. So pick one. Seeing the future.
Seeing the future. Or I was gonna go with telekinesis because I read a book about it when I was a kid and it blew my mind.
But I think ESP, I think being able to see the future is more, or not see, but sense danger and things like that is more likely than telekinesis.
Right. It's
so.
That,
are
that
we going to
hyper
rate these things on order of how I think they actually exist or not? Because anything that involves you moving anything with your mind, pyrokinesis, telekinesis, that's not a thing.
Okay, so but we all kind of, and I put it out there, but I didn't ask, but we all kind of agree that empath is probably the highest because even though it's not supernatural, it is a thing. People are more empathetic than others.
Empathy is a thing.
And some people are hyper. So we'll take that completely off the table, and we're going to say it is actually a thing. It's just not ESP, right? Okay. So then we go the next one down the line. That would be danger sense or knowing the future somehow.
Knowing the future, like that, will we write that in with knowing a loved one has died or...
But before
like dreams.
Yeah, or like a dream or like a bad feeling. I shouldn't have gone. I knew I shouldn't go for a drive today because something was going to happen.
Well, the big one I always hear about, like with the loved one dying, it's always, I dreamed the loved one died, or I had a thought that I should call them or something like that, where they knew something was wrong. But then you dig into the story a little bit, and it's like, well, that person was sick or old, or there was something going on in the life in that person's life that was kind of a trigger, even if it was small. And so I think that goes back to just another hyper awareness of the situation. I don't necessarily think that that's like seeing the future. I think to actually see the future, you have to be able to have some sort of brain manipulation into time space.
If you scroll down, someone had a pretty interesting comment.
Time doesn't exist all at once, bendable by gravity. Well, we know that. Maybe psychics have the ability to read time differently through gamma waves in their brain. Okay, so somebody threw some science
There's
out
a
there.
theory.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
I like that. Thank you. So time is absolutely bendable by gravity. This is what I have a certificate in, is gravitational waves. So we know that gravitational waves actually bend time-space because the further away from Earth you get, the faster time moves. That's that experiment they do with the two atomic clocks, and then when one comes back from orbit, it's ahead. So we do know that, but everybody is affected by the same gravitational waves the same way, unless we're talking about brain waves. But that wouldn't operate the same under the same circumstances, I wouldn't think.
This would be like if you hook someone up to an EEG, you're looking for a certain brain pattern for psychic ability to happen.
Well, this would be good.
Theta.
Yeah, that would be good with an EEG, because you could hook somebody up to an EEG, and then if you could somehow manipulate.
It's almost like hypnosis. You want them in an almost dreamlike state, but awake and able to communicate.
Right. We know that they've done those studies where they've hooked people up to EEGs and seen if people's brainwave activity is different who claim to be psychic, and they haven't actually found anything that's indicative of that. I don't know how somebody could see the future, but I could see how they could predict the future. And I would think it would be that a hyper awareness, or a almost like a I'm doping on the word, like a savant ability to see like multiple choice, like cause and effect or whatever, and then they can pick the most obvious one, and they're just really good at it at like a savant level.
Yeah.
And so it seems like it's something that's supernatural.
Well, and I think a lot of people have skills that appear supernatural to others.
A very particular set of skills.
I was about to say Taryn also says maybe that's why psychics go into trances.
And they don't
remember what they said.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just really convenient.
Well, it's just people that have these stories, most of them do occur in dreams. And that's the state they're trying to induce in the brain when they're trying to get people to have these psychic.
That higher level of theta activity. Because I mean, we still
It's
don't
actually
really
lower than
or lower.
Yeah.
I said it backwards.
It's
But I mean, scientifically, we still don't know how dreams operate either, because we don't understand how we get that visual information without visual input. Like it's a direct input into the brain when you're dreaming.
Steven said savant pattern recognition, which is what you just said.
Yeah, thanks, Steven. At least
You're a savant.
somebody's backing me up.
Oh yeah,
here.
and predictive abilities. If you know a person, you can predict what people do. The thing is, these people go into a room and they're talking to a bunch of people they don't know, trying to glean information from them.
Well,
Right.
that's why they always start with like general information, like
I see a letter N.
Yeah, see you later in, and my name's Nancy.
Do you have a dead grandparent? Anyone got a dead grandparent?
Or
What's the
It's
most
like I'm
common
seeing
name?
a-
Cancer. Cancer. Yes.
They
Everybody.
died of cancer.
Or like I'm seeing a watch, and
And then someone raises their hand.
Yeah, like because you're like, I wear a
My
watch.
grandpa had a watch.
So they the history of extrasensory perception actually starts all the way back in the 1930s, is when they started doing all this research. Right, I didn't actually realize it was that old. But Duke University, North Carolina, J.B. Ryan and his wife, Louisa E. Ryan, conducted investigations into extrasensory perception. While Louisa Ryan concentrated on collecting accounts of spontaneous cases, J.B. Ryan worked largely in a laboratory, carefully defining terms such as ESP, psi, and designing experiments to test them. A simple set of cards were developed, originally called Zinner cards, now called ESP cards. They bear the symbol of a circle, a square, wavy lines, cross, and star. There are 5 cards in each pack of 25. In a telepathy experiment, the sender looks at a series of cards while the receiver guesses the symbols. To try to observe clairvoyance, the pack of cards are hidden from everyone while the receiver guesses. To try to observe precognition, the order of the cards is determined after the guesses are made, and later he used dice to test for psychokinesis. Parapsychology experiments at Duke evoke criticism from academics and others who challenge the concepts and evidence of ESP. A number of psychological departments attempted to repeat Ryan's experiments with failure. W.S. Cox in 1936 from Princeton, with 132 subjects, produced 25,000 trials and playing card ESP experiments. Cox concluded there is no evidence of extrasensory perception either in the average man or the group investigated, or any particular individuals of that group. The discrepancy between these results and those obtained by Ryan is due to either uncontrollable factors in experimental procedure or due to the difference in the subjects. 4 other psychological departments failed to replicate Ryan's results. So Ryan came up with this experiment, with the cards to test all these different psychic abilities people claim they had, and they were able to prove that they were psychic to him. They could guess it was a plus, or they could get certain things to happen with a control. But the thing is once that experiment was repeated with any other group, it never happened.
Sounds like he was dodgy.
Actually, so they looked into it. It wasn't that he was dodgy. He was just really hopeful and really wanted the experiments to turn out that way.
So he's perceiving the results in a different way.
He was perceiving some of the results in a different way. The other thing is his controls weren't as controlled as he thought. And you guys know how anal I am about that. So one of the big things is J.B. Ryan wore glasses, and one of the experiments is holding a card up like this.
Reflective surface.
So everybody that was doing that experiment was just reading the cards off of his glasses. Now, that's mean on their part because they're just dicks for not saying, hey, I can see it in your glass,
Yeah.
But they were trying to prove that they were psychic, almost like Uri Geller, which would come like years later.
I was I I wanted to say earlier, I remember when I was little, I found a book in an old bookstore that theorized that if you can unlock every part of your brain, you could have powers. Like, you can have, like, powers of, like, telepathy and telekinesis. And I can't tell you how hard I tried as a little 10-year-old trying to unlock every part of my brain and trying to meditate and do everything that this book freaking told me.
I hear
'Cause
this
I
a lot.
wanted-
Like,
I wanted to have power so bad.
so there's
We had this discussion about girls going through their magic phase
yeah.
where every girl decides that she has superpowers and they're
I'm a
going to
witch.
curse someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wanted telekinesis. I wanted to move shit
isn't your
around.
daughter in a witch phase now?
She's past it now. It was about last year when she was looking up spells online and
I don't
trying
know what
to
that is
do-
about us in like those pubescent years that we're just like, I'm gonna be a witch.
Yeah,
Probably because we're just hormonal and angry.
I guess.
and
Kenneth
fuck
went through that
everyone.
phase too for a little while.
Hormones, man, hormones.
He was going to be a witch. He did
Yes.
spells.
Hormones are a bitch. Like,
I believe it's warlock. I believe it's warlock, for a
Warlock, yeah.
male.
I don't care. He was a witch.
Aw.
The way the human pattern recognition, you see something in a dream, your brain fills in the blanks when you see something similar. Yeah. But really, in those experiments, they only look for the better than chance results rather than 100%. Yes, and that was the other thing that is actually wrong with the card deal is they were looking at the percentage chance that the psychic was correct. Well, that's a variable. Like, and that's the catch-22. And I think we talked to somebody at the con about that too, about testing psychics. They're like, well, there is no 100%. Like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then it's just like everybody else. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. If your psychic ability only works sometimes, it's not an ability, in my opinion.
It's a really good guess.
Hi, Mina. Thanks for accepting the invite. I told her I was doing a podcast. She was like, you might not want to watch it. We're just making fun of people.
That's pretty much all we do on this show.
If you could get 75%, that'd be no. I disagree because I mean I am right about things like especially at work. Right, I'm a professional. I know my profession. I'm right 70. I'm right 90% of the time, but I'm not psychic. I just know what I'm talking about. It's
I don't think you ever know what you're talking about.
Not 100% anyway. This is what we do. We just make fun of people. So
oh, okay. Well,
are we doing
The aces.
the aces?
I said aces.
see, and that's bullcrap because you have a 25% chance of just getting it right by accident, even doing it that way.
I just had a 3-minute three Stooges where I was just trying to get that bottom card
Right.
off the table.
In 38, psychologist Joseph Jastrow wrote that much of the evidence for extrasensory perception collected by Ryan and other parapsychologists was anecdotal. Wow, that's a slam in the scientific community. It was anecdotal. Not like, oh, it was good research. It's like,
I got a good laugh.
Yeah.
Science insults. You're a pseudoscientist. Your research is anecdotal at best.
anecdotal, biased, dubious, and the result of
jeez.
faulty observation and familiar human frailties. Dude, this guy is a straight ass.
I
He
know
did
that
everything
is-
but call him an F-bomb, man.
Ryan's
Might as
experiments
well
were
have.
discredited due to the discovery that sensory leakage, this will be important later, sensory leakage or cheating could be accounted for, as well as results such as the subject being able to read the symbols from the back of the cards and being able to see and hear the experimenter to note subtle clues. So that's like tells and stuff. And we use that in poker. I play a lot of poker. I'm not great at it. I'm good at it. I know some people that are great at it. They could tell you what's in my hand. They're not psychic. They're just really good at playing poker.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and chances are they've been playing long enough that, I mean,
They can pretty much guess whoever.
In the 1960s, parapsychologists became increasingly interested in the cognitive components of ESP, the subjective experience involving and making ESP responses, and the role of ESP ESP in psychological life. It's called for experimental procedures that were not limited to Ryan's favored forced choice methodology. Such procedures have included dream telepathy experiments and the Gansfield experiments, which is one we want to try pretty soon. Actually, it's like a light sensory. It's rather than sensory deprivation, it's sensory overload.
Ooh.
You actually wear like a mask that's like backlit and it's all white, like looking into a tundra, and you're listening to static going the whole time.
That sounds like my hell. Sounds awful.
I like watching people make fun of you. What's so funny?
None of your business.
Well, hey, let's get our head in the game here.
I'm sorry.
Jeez.
I'm texting a friend that's cooler than you.
Does now seem like an appropriate time for texting?
Yes.
Oh, is this formal? Is this a formal show now? Ass face?
Jesus Christ.
Shut up, Brad.
Oh yeah, because we've always been like the picture of professionalism.
So, we think seeing the future is probably not.
The one that
because what's the mechanic for it? Well, the only mechanic that's been proposed so far is that
Gravitational.
right, but
which
how
is
would
the
you?
closest thing I've heard to an actual science. I mean,
Right,
I give
but-
that person props.
But we don't know. We don't even know how to manipulate gravitational waves on purpose. That's the thing.
Dude, but if we could, that would be so sweet.
If we can manipulate gravitational waves on purpose, then no one would have a need to lose weight or age.
Ooh, let's do this. Let's figure this out.
I mean, so
Is this like the virus I'm going to design that attacks shortened telomeres? That's
Yes.
let's see. We have telepathy, people that
See,
communicate through.
mind reading seems
It's like
right under empathy for me for things that might exist.
Like, because me and Sarah talked about it the other day. Like, her and I have known each other for so long that every so often when we look at, we just know what the other's thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, me and Brad were in the car going to the expo, and he's like, "You know that show we watched? The new season's out." And I was like, "Atypical?" He was like, "Yeah." It's just when you've known someone long enough, you finish their sentences. Except Kristen, because she doesn't talk.
I talk plenty.
Oh, my husband is real intent on us building that fear cage.
I'm down for it.
I want to sit in it.
So if you don't know what a fear cage is, it's just where we bounce EMFs at your face.
I want to sit in it, and I want to be
Oh, that was one that was brought up at the expo was the EMF thing, and my light bulb issue.
light bulb issue.
That was a huge eye roll, by the way.
My mom's house had bad wiring, but occasionally I'd walk in a room and all the light bulbs would explode. Like I'd flip on the switch and all of them would go, but it continued for years. And Allie witnessed this.
Yeah.
And my question was, okay, so you can statically charge things, but Brad made the point that we discharge ourselves.
Constantly.
So is there a way you could hold on to that?
No.
So then pyrokinesis definitely couldn't be a thing.
Nor spontaneous human combustion. Your body's comprised of like 78% water.
Then explain the cases of people that have combusted.
They smoke. And they drop their fucking cigarette and they burn to death.
My ex-stepdad had all these scars on his chest because he'd be smoking and he'd fall asleep.
I've never met a
and
smoker
fry
that doesn't
himself.
have a story about falling asleep smoking a
I
cigarette.
never fell asleep
I never
smoking
fell
a cigarette.
asleep.
What?
I never fell asleep smoking a cigarette either.
Y'all are both liar, pants on fire because I've
No.
seen both of you do it.
No, you haven't.
Yeah. Pants on fire.
No, you haven't.
You're lucky your pants weren't on fire.
I never smoked when I was with you.
Aaron did accidentally once ignite his whole chest.
Oh, yeah.
hair.
He's done that before
It
in the
smells so
car.
bad.
He has dropped it in the car onto his chest hair and just a little flame and just put that out.
I would just, next time that happens, he should just scream, "Pyrokinesis! I set
did.
myself on fire!"
Pyrokinesis, the thought process behind that is it's actually just a heightened form of telekinesis. You're so good at telekinesis that you can speed up particles and matter so fast that it causes so much friction that they set on fire. No.
No. I'm going to go with no.
It's not a thing.
Steven also says nope,
Good job,
that he
Steven.
didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, Steven's never fallen asleep while smoking.
My dad set a couch on fire once.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people fall asleep with it, but I've seen like an ash drop down and it burned.
Oh, everyone's
I've,
done
se-
that.
I've seen
yeah,
people
no.
get drunk and drop it on them.
Yeah, I've gotten
Yeah,
drunk and dropped a cigarette
done
on
that,
myself.
Or like twice, not once but twice. I have tried to throw a cigarette out the car window and it came back.
I've got the
Car
best
on fire.
story ever. So my buddy Eddie, right? Y'all know Eddie.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
he used to drive this really crappy Cobalt, right? And I remember one time I got in it and I looked and there was no back seat. And I'm like, what happened to the back seat? So apparently he's driving down the road with his girlfriend at the time or whatever, and they're having some kind of argument and he's super pissed off and he goes to throw the cigarette out the window, but the window's rolled up. And so apparently that ricochets in the back. But he somehow didn't notice that all that had happened. And so they're like 2 miles down the road and they're just like, something smells funny. What's going on? They get about like 3 or 4 more miles down the road and the backyard or the back seat's just like on fire. And they're back there just trying to like put it out or whatever.
Yeah,
So
both times it ended up somehow in my shirt, in the back of my shirt.
Oh, that hurts so
It
bad.
hurt so bad, and I ruined 2 perfectly good tops.
I feel like once you know it exists, there's a way through science to achieve, manipulate it. And I kind of get that. Like, everybody, you don't believe in something till it happens to you, and then you kind of go that route. But I feel, like in my journey with that is like something happened to me, and then I started taking trying to scientifically explain it. And what I ended up doing is figuring out the alternate explanation for it that actually made sense, not that I actually explained the mechanic which is what we're still looking for, because weird stuff still does happen, but
It's just a small percentage of what we come across.
yeah, and I can sit here and bag on like psychics or ESP all day, and the thing is some people are really good at, and it's just what we're calling it. I'm just saying it's not this magical paranormal thing. It's just a hypersensitivity to your surroundings, because the experiments that do come back are where they induce like what we do on our thing, where I go and I screw with you and induce an adrenaline rush, and all of a sudden you're super hyper aware of every little sound that happens.
Suddenly you see more shadows and you hear more things, and
Yeah, that may or may not be there. And I think if you do that enough, your percentage of correctly guessing something is probably going to go way up.
What are you doing, Brad?
I don't know. I was trying to read this comment, and then everybody got super freaking quiet all of a sudden.
Come on, fearless leader.
Well, you've got the next set of notes,
Oh,
because you wanted to talk about MK Ultra and what all that is.
Hell yeah.
get it together, woman.
I mean, you don't have to read it verbatim. I mean, I thought you knew everything about this.
no, I just said I was interested in it. It's the CIA mind control program. Well, it's
Okay.
the code name given to it. It was undertaken by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, and they were at times illegal experiments on humans intended to identify and develop drugs and procedures to be used in interrogations in order to weaken the individual and force confessions through mind control.
It sounds like science fiction, but this is something we did.
Yeah, no, this
yeah.
is truth.
The operation was officially sanctioned in 1953, was reduced in scope in 1964, further curtailed in 1967, and officially halted in 1973. We halted it, doesn't mean the Russians did. The program engaged in many illegal activities, including the use of the U.S. and Canadian citizens as its unwilling test subjects, which led to controversy regarding its legitimacy. They used numerous methods to manipulate people's mental states and brain functions. They used LSD, other chemicals, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, including the sexual abuse of children and other forms of torture. Wonderful what our government does.
Oh, yeah.
It was brought to the public attention in 1975 by the Church Committee of the United States Congress and Gerald Ford's United States Presidential Commissions on CIA Activities within the United States. So, yeah, they investigated it and they destroyed the files in 1973. So yeah, I know what's that show? Crap, Stranger Things, where that kid's a product of MK
Yeah.
Ultra.
I
Oh, with
that's kind of
Jesse
idea,
Eisenberg in it.
No, that's American Ultra, but it's kind of the same idea. That's kind of what they were trying to do.
They wanted a truth serum because
Right.
it was the Cold War we were trying to deal with.
So it was directly financed by the CIA and oversaw by the SIO, which is scientific information. It's the science division of the CIA. They're the ones that do all the research into like weird stuff like that. But the thing is like it's crazy some of the stuff they did because they tried positive reinforcement to get people to be able to do like psychic stuff. They did sensory deprivation, and then they did like a lot of negative stuff, like they would torture people, they would sexually abuse them, and that what sucks, like that included kids. Like they did those experiments on kids
Yeah,
too.
they're of course they're adults now. I mean, they're in their but
Yeah.
there's adults today that are survivors of this experiment.
And that's where like a lot of people come up with like these weird conspiracy theories too, because we like to laugh at all these people that have like conspiracy theories about what Big Brother's doing, the government's doing. But the thing is
The government does some shit.
yeah, every now and then it comes out that
Yeah.
the government was doing some pretty heinous stuff
Well-
because it's in the records that the participants of MK Ultra, a lot of them didn't know about it. They were unwittingly a part of it, experimented on. Some people were kidnapped. We kidnapped people from Canada for like we went like across the border and like stole people in the middle of the night. And before like the files were why our government would declassify this and admit to this, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was
But-
it was during the panic over Watergate that most of the files were destroyed for the MK Ultra.
I mean, it's just it.
Look at some of this sensory depth stuff on here. Like this is nuts.
Nope.
Like they got his hands covered, like he can't.
He can't see. He can't hear. He can't feel.
And now for sensory depth, they put you in a water tank where you're weighted. You have buoyancy, so you're just floating there. And people do that for kicks now. They
Yeah.
buy sensory depth tanks and chilling.
Yeah, I would totally do sensory depth, and they did a lot of experiments with like LSD and all that.
Well, one of them I was reading about, they put 2 IVs in them and they give them a barbiturate in one arm. And as they started to fall asleep, they'd shoot them up with amphetamines and then ask them questions. And most of it was them babbling incoherently, but occasionally they'd answer a question.
And I can't remember what documentary it was, but they would have somebody like sit in a room or whatever, and they thought they could like astrally project into like other rooms, and they could describe the other room while they were on LSD and stuff like that. But it was never established as like credible science because the people were doped up, and that person might have been I mean, the thing is like, have you ever been in a government test facility? Every room kind of looks the same. They might just
Gray
be.
walls, gray
But what was that
floors.
guy? What was that guy? The physicist that came by talking about he could be blindfolded and he could.
Okay, so this is an experience. This is a thing that they've actually shown to be true. Is
Yeah.
if you're in, let's say, a cave where it's pitch black, some people can still see their hands.
Right.
Now, what he was saying is he could pick up an object that he had never seen before while in the dark, and he could tell you
Right.
what
Basically
the
while
shape and
blindfolded.
size.
Yeah.
But
He said he
this
did it
is-
blindfolded too.
But this is something they've actually documented that people can do, and it's your brain filling in those blanks.
Right. It's that hypersensitivity to your surroundings or whatever. I mean, he's physically there. It's not like he's doing it from halfway around the globe, sort of thing.
It's actually like your brain is mostly guessing, but the thing is, your brain is really good at guessing spatial relations.
Well, because it does it all the time. It's constantly filling in data that's not actually there about like distance, time, passage of time, lighting, things like that. Your brain is constantly filling it like just reading this page. You're not actually reading every single letter in the word, or it looks at the beginning of it and the end of it. And it makes a prediction in a millisecond like that. That's not supernatural. That's just your brain working out a problem.
Cat's making comments that aren't showing up, and
Okay, well,
I was just letting you know.
Oh yeah, it's not showing up on here either.
okay. Well, what was her comment?
I don't know. She's messaging, but yeah. This is. I was reading about like actual superpowers humans can have, and that being able to see in the dark one is kind of.
Right, and I think that falls under the ESP, or they would try to shoehorn that under the ESP, but that's where I differ. Where I say, okay, we're trying to say this is like some kind of supernatural, preternatural ability, but it's actually just an ability that everybody has. We just don't really understand it for what it is. It's once again, I think it goes hypersensitivity is what I'm going to keep calling it because that's just what it is to me. And even though I don't have that, I can understand it as that. I think it exists. I think it exists on a scientific basis.
She says, I mentioned astral projection as a way to get further away from gravitational pull to see future events. And some people have been bringing up remote viewing, which is another interesting.
Remote viewing is astral projection, or it's being able to leave your body or like out of body sort of experience where you can like exist out of your own senses or whatever. What's that? What was that look?
Oh, she said 11 was the girl from Stranger Things. I totally blanked on the name.
Oh. Your brain keeps up with your surroundings to keep you safe, not your little toe, though. Your brain wants that little guy gone.
That is true.
My brain apparently does not give a crap.
Yeah, because, like, yeah. So
But
I
there's
wonder.
good-
I wonder if that guy who can see everything in the dark has ever stubbed his little toe. I wonder how good his radar
There's
is
good
there.
logic on why I have issues with that. As a kid, I had chronic ear problems so bad that I'd had 9 surgeries on my ear by the time I was 9. And your inner ear is what has that spatial sense. Like when you're asleep, people that co-sleep with their kids, the reason they don't roll over on them, even when you're asleep, you know where you are in the world. I seem to lack that ability, as the last arm
So I wonder if,
surgery
like,
would say.
You know, I wonder if that's like common with like every person who's ever had inner ear problems. Because I mean, I had like my eardrum bust like multiple times when I was younger.
And I've heard how to help that is to swing on a swing set.
That is so weird.
I'm not sure because when we worked at CLC, someone came in and was teaching us ways to help neural pathways, and one of them was swinging on a swing set. I guess I should try that.
Declassified MK Ultra documents indicate that they studied hypnosis in the early 1950s. Experimental goals included the creation of hypnotically induced anxieties, hypnotically increasing the ability to learn and recall complex written matter, studying hypnosis and polygraph examinations, hypnotically increasing the ability to observe and recall blah 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 blah. It doesn't say, I was hoping it would say hypnosis isn't actually a thing, but I guess they tried it.
Isn't hypnosis just someone talking you through meditation? Is
Yeah.
the way I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Which is why it doesn't work on people with anxiety or just being stressed out all the time. It's
Oh,
really
no,
hard to
no.
meditate.
According to certain people, hypnosis can work on anybody.
According to her, but we all sat in that room trying to be hypnotized, and the only thing that I felt the whole time was that this chair is uncomfortable and I can't wait to get up. And
I think also because we doubt it, we're
Yeah,
less likely
maybe.
to.
I also completely discredit any of the experiments that MK Ultra even attempted for the fact that they were relying on results of a polygraph test.
and those
because
are crap.
because if anybody knows that polygraph tests don't work, it's the CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know they're garbage.
Well, they
Polygraphs.
can work.
You just gotta clench your butthole.
But also, if you are any kind of sociopath, if you're a good liar,
It's not
you
gonna
don't
work.
you don't change your
Yeah.
heart rate, your temperature when you lie.
Well, I have control over a lot of that stuff. And like I have a lot of control over my heart rate just by like breathing and and chilling and thinking about it. I can lower my heart rate. I've always been able to do that. Like that's not a magic ability. That's just something some
No,
people
I
can
did.
do.
When I did that pain program at UT, one of the things they did was hook us to a biofeedback machine to try and help us regulate some of these things.
Yeah, I can change some of my biorhythms by like concentrating and thinking about it. So
Yeah.
polygraph tests are crap though. Like like especially with the most recent thing, they're like blah 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 passed a polygraph test, and I'm like, oh, please don't put that in there. You're not
Yeah.
making a
Well,
good case.
Anyone wants to drop their heart rate, all you need is a vasovagal response. You can bear down like you have to poo, You can stick your face in ice water, or you can do carotid massage. Now, I don't recommend any of these things because if you're already bradycardic, you will pass out. But yeah, you just need the vasovagal response.
I just love that guy I think he was from the CIA, and my favorite quote from him was that polygraphs aren't worth the paper they're printed on. And I just love that. I keep that.
Yeah,
I'm super disappointed. Canada was a willing participant in MK Ultra.
Well, Canada can't say no. There's like, oh, sorry. I guess we'll help you. Sorry. I love Canadian.
I guess they thought I can understand why they did it. It just, God, it sucks that they.
So what she's talking about, I would classify as a medium, and I don't think that's ES. So when we were first talking about,
how would they test someone who sees ghosts when they can't even prove the ghost?
There's ghosts, yeah. So I don't even know how you. Well, I mean, I guess they would do it the same with like the accuracy of predictions or whatever, and it's just the medium by which they're gaining the information. But that would definitely not fall under ESP for me. Like ESP is your own power, your own super ability to do things. But anybody that's a medium, using the spirit world to gain their information. What's up? Oh, I still got this up here on display. There we go. Better? Oh no, so
it. Jeez.
Oh, I'm good. No, but basically, if they have The Shining, that's not ESP. I don't know if anybody's done any testing on that yet, other than people like us.
And we did the show on people that like kids being more likely to see these things and experience these things, and I think it's because they don't filter out information as well as adults do.
Yeah. Well, and
Same with animals.
Yeah. As adults, we do actually filter out a lot of the background noise.
Well, have you ever been driving to work or to school and you get there and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
It's 'cause-
Highway hypnosis.
Well, it's because your brain has done it so many. If you do something repeated every day, your brain
It
phases
edits
it
out the middle part.
It's unimportant.
Well, and it's like background noise too. Like adults are more able to filter out background noise to concentrate on important conversations or information.
Unless they're any of us.
Yeah, I have a problem with it. Is my brain can't shut off all that background noise.
I can't that's part of the reason I watch TV with closed captions is because anyone's talking around me, I can't focus.
Yeah.
On
Well,
what I'm
and that's
listening to.
that's the problem with anybody that's on the spectrum with autism is they have a hard time shutting any of that out because that part of their brain doesn't function the same way. It's just constantly data input all the time, which would be totally horrible.
That's why I get cross-diagnosed with ADD. So I'm not totally sure Caitlin has ADD. I just know she can't filter when things are going on, and she can't filter her own brain process. If she has a thought, that's where she is now.
Maybe she has ESP.
Well, maybe.
Maybe she's super sensitive. Yeah, Canada was willing. The Canadian government was part of it. That makes me sad because I liked Canada up until then.
Canada.
Well, most countries are. Back
Yeah,
in the day,
most-
were complicit in these tests.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew any better. They knew not to torture people, but I think they thought these things were real enough that they needed experiments.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a country in the world that hasn't done something similar or
Something
are
horrible.
doing something similar.
Legal issues involving informed consent. Oh, that can't be good. They're mentioning Nuremberg.
Well, because a lot, like one of the tests, they said they were sending guys into brothels, and then when they weren't being honest about what they were doing there, they were shooting them up with. They were giving them LSD without their consent, and then seeing if they would be more willing to explain why they were at the brothel. Why were they at the brothel? But you know what I mean.
Oh my god. So this is okay, films about so like how it's got like the references or whatever for the research and stuff. And I didn't see that it was under popular culture, but it says in films the very first one at the top is Pineapple Express.
God.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Because they did in MK Ultra is the reason that pot got classified as got scheduled the way it did because of a lot of the
that's part
study.
of the reason. Another reason.
Well, yeah.
Completely racist.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
1998 CBC miniseries The Sleep Room dramatizes brainwashing experience funded by MK Ultra. Oh, I want to watch that. That sounds awesome.
What?
There was a show, a miniseries in 1998 called The Sleep Room about the experiments that were going on with MK Ultra. So I kind of want to check that out.
Like a docudrama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that
The
show?
Stephen King book Firestarter is based on the fictionalized version of the MK Ultra experiments and the protagonist. Yeah, Firestarter.
Oh, I
so-
forgot she was from MK. I totally forgot
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's
Pyrokinetic.
been so long since I read that.
Wasn't that with Baby Drew Barrymore?
Yes, it was Baby Drew
Baby
Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. Who is
So are we gonna do some y'all want me to do some psychic experiments with you guys?
So
Yes.
who would be the best at focusing on which card it is in this group?
I mean, I was about to say I'll do it.
But who's the best able to keep the card in their brain and think about nothing else?
That's gonna be no one.
To think about nothing but the card.
Nothing but the card.
Uh,
You have to focus on the card.
I mean, I guess I'm good at focusing, but
You gotta focus.
I gotta focus.
Oh, okay. So the first experiment it's a telepathy experiment. So you're supposed to hold up a card like facing you, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I was doing this experiment with you. I would focus on this card, right? And you're not trying to guess the card. You're trying to read my mind about what card it is, which in this case is.
We
Yeah,
can
'cause I
all
can
see
but I
that.
don't have my glasses on, so I just
Oh,
I just saw a crossbones looking something. I can't tell.
Clubs.
Oh,
And we were going to get a taser and tase people who got it wrong, but
that seems a big stream. I'm glad you couldn't
my
find it.
taser sucks.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't have been that
I
bad.
was about to say, like, her and I both have been tased with it.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not even like a self-defense weapon because once I got tased with it, I was like, this isn't going to drop a grown-ass man. It might make him, like, go,
Like what?
But
all right, Kristen, close your eyes for a minute.
Okay, but how am I gonna read your mind if I can't stare into your
Just
soul?
hold on. Close your eyes for a minute.
Okay.
Because I gotta show the audience.
Close your eyes. Give me
Okay. All right, you can open your eyes now.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to.
she can still see it in the camera.
Okay. And
She didn't. I'm just stating.
Well, I'll pick a
I
new one.
just do like this. I can't see the camera at all, but I'll have to still see you. So
I really
And
wish
you're
we
not
had the
doing-
taser.
you're not just doing the aces either. So
No,
I
he
have-
didn't like my aces idea.
God, there's so many cards to choose.
He's
Do I
being
have
a
to get both
butthole.
the number and
Yes,
the...
you have to get everything 100% correct.
Oh God. Okay.
Well, I mean, you know, you can do it in phases like a cold reading. You know, you can be like, you know.
I'm feeling an odd number.
All right, I'm gonna hold it down here. All right.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't see.
exactly, Kat. That's what we were gonna play was Ghostbusters.
Okay.
What?
You're just such a douche.
I'm concentrating.
I have eternal flame stuck in my head.
No, you're good. I gotta concentrate.
I need y'all to. I need y'all to shut up.
I have total eclipse of the heart stuck in my head.
It's a 9.
I think you need to concentrate a little harder.
It's really
No,
hard
we're a good
with
variable.
them.
No, we're a variable. Just don't mind us.
Oh, God.
Guys, give it a chance.
I can't focus with background noise. We just discussed this.
Shut up.
I don't know, man. I keep wanting to say it's like 10 of clubs or some shit.
It is.
It's not.
It's totally the 10 of clubs.
You're such a dick.
What is it actually?
It's Queen of Hearts.
Wow, nowhere even close.
Oh, do I get to try now?
Yeah, try.
Here, give me the aces.
Okay.
I only want to do the aces.
No, me too, because then we have just a 25% chance of getting it right. Instead, it's like, here's 5 bajillion cards. Guess which one's in my hand.
Is it 52? Is that?
Yeah, it's 52.
You have a 1 in 52 chance.
Good God. Tell me when I can look.
Not yet. He's still shuffling.
Give me your
Do you want to
hand.
read Brad's or do you want to read somebody else's mind though?
I want to read.
Let's read Allie's mind.
I want to read Allie's mind. I want to read
Right,
Allie's
because you
mind.
guys know each other. Okay,
Yeah.
stop looking. Stop looking. All right. You have to concentrate on the card. I want you to think about the number Then I want you to think about the color. Now I want you to think about the shape, the symbol. I want you to regress deeper into thought. Keep staring at the card.
Tell me when I can look at her.
Oh,
You can look at her.
You can look at her.
Look at the card, Allie.
I am. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, meanwhile, that song's still playing in the back of your head.
You have to actually look at the card because she's trying to access the part of your brain that's looking at that card.
Okay, I'm looking at it.
I'm going to ask you what it is, and I want you to answer me in your mind, right? What card do you have? What card do you think she has?
6 of diamonds. I'm not psychic.
It's a penis.
What?
I was close.
You
I
were.
was one number wrong.
No, yeah, you were close. And it's
Yeah, one number and suit. You were 52 off. That's-
Okay, I'll do one. Kristen, you want to guess?
Oh, am I guessing your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not looking.
But she was right. That song wasn't really deep in the back of my mind.
Tell me when I can look at you. Because I don't want to see it if he's showing it to the...
No,
Oh, I'm not
he's
going to show it to the
He's not
camera.
showing it.
Okay,
oh,
you can go
we're
ahead.
not showing it to the
Ready?
camera.
I don't know the names of the cards.
Oh, God. Think of the color at least. Is it a 3 of clovers? What's that called? Clubs? I forgot what they're called too.
It's a 5 of upside down heart shovels.
Spades. So all of us suck at
I'm
it.
gonna try.
Okay.
I want all 3 of you to think about it. Maybe that'll help. Maybe if I've got more brain waves on it. Y'all all know what it is? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna really try. All right, seriously, like concentrate on it.
Okay.
Is it a black card?
Yes.
Is it a club?
Yes.
Is it a club?
Yes.
It's higher than 3, less than 5. It's a 4 of clubs.
You,
That's actually correct.
You
yeah,
look.
but he doesn't fucking card magic tricks. So he dealt that one on purpose.
I want to do one. I want to try.
We can't trust him. He's a liar. I can do sleight of hand.
Who do you want to read?
Whatever. I just shuffled them here.
I don't trust you.
I
Let
wanna
me
pick
pick.
a card.
No, it's for me. I'm trying to read somebody's mind.
Oh, she's trying to guess you.
I'm trying to guess somebody. Pick up the damn card.
Or you can do me.
I guess I'll do. Yeah.
The 5 looks like a 6. Spade has 4 points. She was close. Yeah, see? Get some props.
Okay, so it's black, obviously. Silver?
Why are you saying obviously?
Because all the
Silver?
cards are black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but there's
No,
2
no, no,
suits that are
you-
black and 2 that are red.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gray. That it's like a gray color, gray suit.
You don't have to go by the actual.
Card. You know what color they're supposed to be, you dork.
I know. So it's like a silver suit or gray suit, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna go with 6 clubs.
No, it was the same fucking card because it's Brad.
Oh, fuck you. I could have been psychic.
I'm taking this card. You don't get this card back.
Here.
So that's
yeah.
probably another thing that, they do is that they just kind of fuck with you and they already know what card you're holding. They know. Give me those. Give me those. All right, who wants to read? Who wants to be read?
Okay, I'll read y'all really pull a random one.
Okay, I'm going to focus on one, and Brad's got to read my mind.
Okay. Oh, frick.
Oh, I missed a phone call.
Oh, no.
You get phone calls?
All right, pick a card.
Oh, I hate watching you do that. There's no control over what card you're forcing her to get
No,
at all.
not at all.
Oh,
that's
that's-
the point.
It's fucking random.
That's the point.
Okay, I know you're not concentrating on it because you're reading a text. If I'm gonna really try. $11 of sheep. King of spades.
Seven of hearts.
I was close.
Yeah, so close. No, we were all so close. So yeah, none of us are psychic.
Is that my magic? It's just it. It is, but it's not marked or anything.
Yeah, but I read that wrong.
I thought she was talking about magic cards, like tap
Magic
your
the
land.
Gathering. Magic the Gathering cards.
All right, hold on. Let me see the deck real quick. Or actually, you pulled that at random, right?
Yeah.
Let me see it, but don't show the camera.
Okay.
So if there's anybody in our audience who's psychic, I'm going to set this card off to the side, right? You can't see what it is. I'm going to put it over here.
I saw it too, so I'm thinking about it too.
Right. So all four of us are going to think about it. See if you can remotely...
View it or read our minds.
Right, yeah. And we'll give you a chance to comment or whatever. So throw up in the comments what you think
That card is.
that card is. Let's send out some psychic vibes real quick. It's coming at you now, and we're on a delay, so we're gonna do this for 20 whole seconds. All right, I think that's enough for the psychic. So just keep that in the back of your head, and if anybody wants to guess what they think it is,
Somebody's already guessed.
we'll reveal it later. If somebody gets it right, we'll have to like send a T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're like, congratulations, you're a psychic. Here's some things. Beautiful. All right, I messed up my mic doing all this. I can't. I was really focusing. Okay. Yay.
So we've covered empathy, empaths, people that just pick up on the emotional cues of other people, pyrokinesis or just smokers. Oh no, that was spontaneous human combustion, which is a completely other show that we need to do. Mm-hmm. But we've never proven anybody can actually like set anything on fire with their minds.
I wish I could. That'd be so great.
God. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you rather be able to move things with your mind or set things on fire with your mind?
Well, I guess probably move it so I don't have to ever leave my bed ever. But
I'd
also
rather be able to read minds.
fire would be really nice though, because you could just get revenge all the time.
Reading minds?
Like
I wouldn't
constantly,
want to, man.
No, I want to be able to turn it on and off.
Okay, because
like
people
constantly
are.
carrying people.
So here's the age old question. If if Miss Cleo or whatever is psychic, right? Why do they have to ask your name when you call? Why haven't they won the lottery? There's
Well, the answer would be maybe you don't, like, if you're an actual psychic, maybe you don't get to pick what you see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
well, that's not very useful.
No. I'm seeing a Jeff and he's getting fired. Do I know a Jeff? I don't know a Jeff. Okay, well.
Call every Jeff you've ever met.
Did you get fired?
Emilio, just need 52 guesses. I don't know any other. So we have some friends that are clairvoyant, but they do it through other means. Like there's no sciencey superpowers behind it. They use tools and magic and stuff like that. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
We talking tarot here?
Yeah. Why do tarot cards work?
I think they're good at reading you.
I think that they're very generic and can apply to anybody in any situation.
Yeah.
And if they throw out one of these generic things, you're going to go, oh, yeah.
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 And you just kind of fill it in for them.
Yeah, I mean, because, as much as, everybody wants to think that they're an individual, people do have collective experiences.
Yeah.
We each have like similar experiences in our own lives.
We've all been through a breakup.
Yeah.
We've all known somebody that died.
We've
all
all
been
wanted to help.
Or like she
people.
threw, like one of the instances she threw out at you. You have a man in your life that
Who
thinks he's always right. Like,
Like,
okay,
Or she's like,
That's-
you're not
yeah.
happy in your career. Who is exactly 100% happy in their career?
I am.
Sure.
That's a lie.
It's just such a
I don't
thing
have a
with
man in my life that thinks he's always right.
It's you. You're the man in your life.
You're psychic.
I am.
Kat says lots of psychics can't read themselves, so they say.
Yeah.
So they can see things that pertain to other people, but not themselves.
kind of like being able to give people advice, but not being able
yeah.
to.
Not
Take
taking
your
your
own
own
advice.
goddamn advice, yeah.
Allie.
Yeah, no, I'm terrible. At it.
Psychic Alley.
I don't know. We talked about that reading the readings we all got that day at that. I want to say festival, even though I know that's not the word, but it's gone.
Which sadly it's not around anymore because George retired. There is no more
There's not going to be another one?
no more Tyler Paracon.
Aw.
Oh, but that was fun.
Yeah, I know he had one of the better ones. Even if I was getting frustrated with some of the planning, but I think that might be. I mean, because he retired because he was feeling sick. Like
He's chronically ill.
Yeah, he was chronically ill. Hey, what do you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we should have him on the show. But I was actually talking with him the other day because there are no like Paracons or anything in DFW, and I was talking about maybe starting one.
Oh, yeah. So you were
Bless
talking
you.
about
You
that.
don't get no stop.
Are you going to do it in Sundance Square?
Dude, I don't know. I'll
They
do it
do
wherever
so
it's
much
cheap.
in Sundance,
know.
dude.
Do it in a hotel somewhere.
Ooh, an abandoned parking lot. Some weird place.
I mean,
Some
they're
park.
doing Akon at the convention center.
Oh,
now.
hey, I got the confirmation back from A.W. Perry. We are on for the 20th.
Okay.
Crap.
It's not a full blown.
sorry.
It's not a full blown like investigation. We're gonna do kind of like talk to him on the porch, like the panel before. But then they're gonna take in small groups, and we're just gonna kind of show them around the house and give them kind of a run through
I
of,
will
of
not
what
be
we
there
do.
for
And
that.
then what's with the other one we got? Murders and Mayhem?
Murders and Mayhem.
12th.
That's on the 12th. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't make that one either.
that's in Farmers Branch.
And then we have an investigation coming up, actually.
on Saturday.
Saturday
I will be there for that one.
at a
Huzzah.
store called Needful Things.
in Granbury.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that actually.
Yeah.
And she owns 2 stores in Granbury, Cool Junk and Needful Things. They're both right by the square. If you're into antiquing, she had some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I like how we found that one.
That one kind of found us, technically.
Ooh.
I don't
a
know.
psychic
I think my
moment.
group kind of abandoned me there while they went and dealt with it.
We asked, and you're like, okay, y'all can go.
Yeah, I'm awesome.
You act like you're the boss of us.
I am the boss.
Okay. Keep
Me-
thinking that, sir.
Sir.
What's that?
Fuck you.
No, but like we have new experiments to run. We now have a parabolic microphone, which came in the mail. I'm super excited about that. We now have some motion detectors. We have a lot more recorders.
I'm going to start doing psychological evaluations on everybody. It's going to be fun.
Don's gonna do the cinematography. I had set out a shoot list, so it's gonna be a little bit different the way we do it this time. And it's a small as hell venue, so I think we're gonna have to go into that place like one at a time. From what
it
you're
was
describing.
really small and creaky.
Yeah, and since it's full of like antiques, I was afraid of us
But
bumping
there's also
into
2
something.
buildings. There's the carriage house and there's the house in front. So one person can go do one.
Yeah,
one person can go do the other.
yeah, that was my original idea. Is like set out groups into each one and then switch.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anything like that?
You need to reveal the card, though.
I don't want to reveal the card.
We'll just look at the timestamp to see when they actually wrote it. Anybody got any final guesses before we reveal the card to you?
It's on a delay, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Cat guessed, Emilio guessed, Julie guessed.
Cat's guess isn't showing up here.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
she's just texting
She guessed
it.
it, King of Hearts.
King of Hearts. Oh no, it is not the King of Hearts. It is not the Ten of Spades.
It's the 3 of diamonds.
Emilio was
Emilio,
actually.
Emilio, you might be half psychic, Amelia.
Yeah.
Or a third.
I thought, speaking of Emilio, I thought it was super cool how many people came out to the Granbury Paranormal Expo to actually see us that are fans of the podcast. Emilio being one of them.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Which we gave him a free book because he bothered to come out and see us.
And he bothers to watch the podcast.
I know, that's...
Even after meeting us.
God.
He wasn't turned
I'm
off.
on the podcast, and I don't even want to listen to it most of the time.
Well, you already know what we said.
Alwie came out and saw us. Ryan came out and saw us.
Cassie came by.
Cassie came by. We saw Emilio. There were some more people that I'm forgetting. We met so many people at the expo.
We met that guy, Cade. What's his name, Cade?
Cade, yeah. He
Yeah.
posted up on Instagram a really good picture of us or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think he was on the slide too, because I noticed his Instagram thing. It looked like he had his own like little paranormal team. I think he was doing some paranormal recon.
Yeah.
That's what I think that guy was
He
doing.
was like, these guys are losers. Just nothing to worry about.
He says, Emilios is halfway through the book. It's great so far.
Ooh.
Oh, yay! Well, he likes it better than that that oil field guy that gave me a bad review.
But he was garbage. I read through all of his reviews.
Yeah, he just hates everything. He's
Yeah.
never posted a good review.
What he's doing, and I hate revealing this, but if you're on Audible and you give something a trash review and you don't like it, they'll let you swap it out for another book.
Yeah, so he's just
So
giving
I bet he's
everything.
gaming the system.
That's shitty.
Because everything he has on there is a 1-star rating.
And just what kind of life do you have if that's what you sit around
I
doing?
know. He's like, this
Gaming Audible.
wasn't even for people in America. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I saw that one. Like, okay, because other countries don't fucking exist, jackass.
USA. USA. It's awful.
So what's our next event coming up? Is that the Murders and Mayhem?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first we have the investigation and then murders and mayhem.
Well, I meant public event. Where
Murders
people
and
can-
mayhem.
Then yes.
Murders and Mayhem and Farmers Branch. You can find the information on our website on the social calendar or whatever. But that's going to be pretty cool because that is actually a happy hour at a bar. That will be
That is fucking awesome.
that'll be alcohol enabled, and that one is being run by Victoria, formerly of A.W. Perry
Oh,
Museum.
I didn't know she
Oh
was
wait,
entering.
the brunette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have like a little table set up there. We'll be signing books, talking about paranormal investigation, things like that, and drinking beers.
Burn.
And then they have a walk after that, like a tour or whatever. And it's not really a ghost hunt, but we are gonna probably take like an EMF detector or whatever with us and see if we catch anything while we're out there. So that'll be cool. I don't remember if there was an admission fee on it or not. And then after that, on the 20th, would be the A.W. Perry History Museum, which they're doing Night of the Living Dead outside again on the barn, and they're going to play our episode for A.W. Perry, and we'll be giving like a presentation on the porch and a walk through the house and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in coming out and seeing us, those are both events that are coming up that are pretty cool.
And it's a neat little place. And the people there are just really nice, and they got like a lot of history on them, so just come check it out. If not for us, at least for that. But also come see us.
Love us.
More people need to buy books. We almost sold out of books at the
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
at Granbury. I was happy about that.
Oh, your mom wants to know. Julie wants to know about.
You know what? Your mom wants to know why you wrote
Demon
that
debate.
horrible
she wants to know
stuff.
about the demon debate.
It's on hold until
Yeah, we're having trouble getting everybody wrangled.
Scheduled, yeah.
yeah. But your mom wants to know why you wrote such horrible things about her in our book.
Because that's what happened.
She said that didn't happen.
Well,
I'm
That's up
pretty
for
sure
debate.
it actually happened.
that's exactly what happened. I know what that noise was.
All right, so thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna go ahead and play you guys out.
Yeah.
Turn around. Give me
And for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did and you would like to know more about NT Paranormal and our research, please visit us at www.ntparanormal.com or our Facebook page at facebook.com/ntparanormal. You can also check out our book, After Dark Paranormal Investigations, True Cases of the NT Paranormal Team on Amazon.com, or find our articles in Paranormal Hauntings Magazine. Before we go, we would also like to thank our supporters at Paranormal Hauntings Magazine, Paranormal Investigations Equipment, PIE, Ghost House Paranormal, the Granbury Paranormal Expo, and the Tyler Paranormal Conference. Until next time, everyone stay safe out there and stay open-minded.